So welcome to today's class on Power BI, and we will focus today mostly on Power Query. So when we talk about Power Query, what do we really mean by Power Query? You need to understand the concept behind Power BI. Earlier, during the course of training, you have been introduced to the concept of ETL. So ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. We also have another version of it known as ELT, which is like a modern version of it. And we'll call it like a modern business intelligence or modern business intelligence or data pipeline. So we call it like extract. Please ask questions if you have at any point. Extract, load, and transform. So what does this mean? You get this data. Extract means to get the data and inject it. So extract means to get the data, Some people call it inject data, some call it collect data. You just need to know what you want to call it, name it. And then transform means to clean. Clean and prepare your data. And load is, when you're done cleaning, you need to load your data in a repository, in a single source of truth. Take note of the terminologies I'm using. In a place called a single source of truth, where everyone can go in, access this data for analysis, for machine learning. And that place, it's mostly called the data warehouse. This is a concept you're going to see a lot in most interview and in most job descriptions, the concept of ETL. So, and then what's the concept here? The modern ETL, the modern business intelligence. We have a system where you collect data again, but instead of transforming, you're loading. So you're loading this into a data warehouse, a data lake, and I will explain the concept of the data lake. Notice that there is no form of transformation here. There is no form of transformation. Why do we have that? We want a situation where we get this data from different sources, and those different sources could be CRM, database, that's the transactional database, flat files, or wherever they are, flat files. When I mean flat files, I mean Excel, CSV. What else? The APIs. Some streaming applications.
Sorry, Kingsley, what does API mean?
Application programming interface. We're going to try, before the end, getting data from an API. So API means application programming interface. Now let me give you a little hint. So imagine someone wants to create an account. Someone wants to create an account. All right, someone wants to create an account with Lloyds Bank, a business account with Lloyds Bank. So in Nigeria, what really happened is when you want to create an account with with any bank, a business account, the bank will do background check, company check, to be sure that that company is registered with CAC. Now, if there was a way online for them to go and check,
Yeah.
CAC definitely has this data in their database. But if there was a way for CAC, so if there were a way for this bank, for let's say GTB to access this information, they would access it online, but there is no way. So the method of opening this data, giving CAC, giving banks access to this data they have, so that they will automatically know where the verify whether a bank is a business is actually registered. It's called application programming interface. We give you an interface to see what we have in our database.
Okay.
That's what API means. And it's a huge business on its own. The company Checker works is actually what they do is only API. They build API for companies. So it's a huge industry on its own. So imagine the company A wants to create an account. So Lloyds Bank when they are creating the account, there is a point where when you type in the company name, Lloyds Bank will validate it with what company house in UK has. If it is correct, they will know that that bank,
Business is
that
correct.
business is correct. So you don't have to pay any money to open a bank account or to give any money to go and do background check, just like the Nigerian banks will do. You pay for the background check.
All
Yes,
right.
that's what API does. So all those data, you get all data from different sources. And then you see all this data you get from different sources. The concept of ELT is to load them the way they are. You load them the way they are, untouched, raw data. No cleaning at all. If there's any form of cleaning, that will be what we call cleaning up of extracts, and then we'll do a little transformation, we'll call it multi. And that's like hiding. This little transformation is like hiding like PII information. Do you know what PII means?
No. No.
PII is something you must always use, where you must always use, especially when you're going for NHS interview that you have done. Personally, I will encourage you to check it out. Identifiable information. So that information, if I can get your name, that's not enough. But or if I can get your card, that's not enough. If I want to deal with you, if I want to do something, do any harm to you, I don't know if that card belongs to you. Remember, if I get your card, I will need, especially in the UK, most times you will need the postcode, the person's address, to be able to make payments. So I need to get your full name. I will need to even get your phone number for some bank that will not allow you make payment except they verify with phone number. I will need to get your address. A combination of this information that directly identifies a person, it's called personally identifiable information. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
in every application, in data analysis, it's recommended that this is hashed. You hide this, you anonymize it, you can use hashing. You can use anonymization. Hashing is to make the data look like they are nothing. They are just letters and symbols, things that don't make sense, senseless things, but they are actually codes that are used to identify a particular information. That's hashing. So Kingsley could be recognized as X apostrophe, quotes to something on that does not make really sense. So anonymization, the other thing, sorry. Anonymization. So anonymization is, so I live in a place, let's say I live in Doncaster, in a particular street one in Doncaster. The anonymization is to reshuffle, use, you can actually get libraries online to do anonymization. What it does is give me another address about 50 miles far from where I am. Get another address 50 miles from where I am. Get another person's name 100 miles from where I am. Get a random phone number. Just add everything. None of them refers to me. None of them relates to me. That's
But
anonymization.
would that not be somebody's detail as well?
So it's not necessarily going to be somebody's detail. It could just be a random. So you could just go to Newcastle and get house one, house one. That house actually exists. Then they will go to London and get somebody's name. That name does not relate to the person in Newcastle at all. So in other words, the person living in that particular address in Newcastle, it's not the person you're going to look for. And then maybe go to Norwich or get a random phone number and then put all these things together, they form anonymization. You can't trace it to anybody. Does that make sense?
So is this like a code that is written, or
Yes, there
there's
is
a
a code.
template?
There's a code in library that in Python that does this easily. I've not done
Oh,
anonymization in Power BI. So most of these things are not done with business intelligence tools. Uh, they are done with raw codes. So it's not really your job to anonymize. It's mostly the job of data engineers to anonymize. But if you have to, you can easily get the developer. Let's say you're working with a company that does not have business intelligence solution across board. You can get the developer to hash, which I have had before, to hash the information. And they will go to that column and hash it and give you access to it, or even anonymize it and give you access to it. So you must know how to present yourself as what you have done. Developers can do it, go to the transactional database, create a new column for you, and say it's and hash it, and then give you access to it. They can, data engineers can do that when they are getting, and that's what brings us to a new form of ELT known as E small letter T LT.
that's after the hashing or anonymizing.
Yes, you load it. But remember, you're loading raw data into the data lake. So the concept where the data load, the load moves from being the last to this point is called, it's a modern business intelligence solution. The idea is for us to preserve the integrity of the data set, preserve it in its raw form, so that at any point in time, nothing is actually lost in this data set. You preserve everything, every form of the data. If it is a CSV file, you push it there, except for the way it is. Anyone can go. So 5, 10 years later, we are thinking that the data we have in our data warehouse is for transformed data. Data lake is for data that is not transformed. Remember, if we go and think that what we have in data warehouse is not okay, we can actually refer back to the data lake. Make sense? I need question.
So,
This is very important.
so you said data lake is for untransformed data,
Raw
but data
data.
warehouse is for data that is already transformed.
Yes. What you put in data warehouse is transformed data. You don't put data. So not just transform data, you transform it. You create the model, you create the data, you model it, dimensional modeling, and then move it into the data warehouse. Whereas here, it's the raw data. When we get it, we can then transform it. When we're done transforming it, we move it again to the data warehouse.
So by transforming, do you mean cleaning?
Cleaning, yeah, that's what I put here. Cleaning and preparing it.
So does that now mean that this new modern way, this extract, load, and transform, so what's now going to serve as the data lake? Is data lake like a different form of, is
Yes.
Power Query a data lake?
No, there is actually what we call data lake. And most of this concept is actually on a cloud platform that can be on premise one, but it's mostly on a cloud platform. So data lake, example of data lake is Azure Blob. In Amazon, we'll call it Amazon S3. I'm sure you have heard of that one. In Google, we'll
I've seen
call
it,
it,
but I don't know what it means.
yes, now you know, it's a data lake. In Google, we call it data storage. So most of these terminologies, you need to know them and update your CV with them. And even try to build this concept. It's actually easy to use if you learn it. Move data into data lake. It's actually easy to use. That's why normally we are teaching you how to organize your work. So inside there, what you have is inside these things, you just have folder system where you can create uh, hierarchical folder system. And say you have one level of file, one level of folder, like for the company folder. Then you have the department folder, finance department, operation
Inside the
department,
folder.
marketing department, different folder. This will be folder, this will be folder. So when we break inside this folder, then you can then have different projects you're doing. So you have those kind of, it's a folder system. But this time around, inside this folder system, you can actually write complex code to write complex code that will go in there, bring the data, and even send it back. It's not like um, the normal OneDrive that you have or Google Drive you have. These folder systems are complex. They are built to be data intensive. So I'll spare you the details there.
So
Remember,
who owns Azure Blob? Is it Microsoft?
Azure is Microsoft. Yeah, Microsoft Azure.
Okay.
So I will recap. This is what you will see mostly when you're applying for jobs. So there's no problem with this. And we get data, we transform it, we load it. And it is this concept that we have in Power BI, where we will get the data. I'm going to let me open a new stuff. Oh no, I can do it here. I'll try so that I don't miss. I use a different color, green without. So in Power BI, you get data. So you get data from a data source. And then you inject it. And that's what we call the extract. When you extract it, this data source lives most outside Power BI. So you bring it to the Power BI umbrella, to the home of Power BI. So inside there is Power BI. Where are you bringing it to? You're expected to bring it to where you're going to transform it, which is Power Query. So this Power Query, remember, is also an independent application. So this is where you transform it. When you're done with transforming it, you will then move it to where you're going to transforming and preparing it. You're done transforming and preparing it for analysis. You're then going to move it to another level. Then that's loading to another level where you're going to build a data model, dimensional data model. Dimensional data model. When you are done, you will then build your reports. From here to here, you are loading your data. So this is the core level that completely belongs to Power BI. This is an inbuilt system in Power BI. All Power BI. An inbuilt system in Power BI. That's why when we click on transform, it takes us to a new interface, a new window where we transform and then we load to this point. So this is transform and then this is load. And that's the concept we have in Power BI. Extract from all the multiple data sources. It can accept, and you saw all the data sources. You saw all the data sources I showed you. It can access any of those data, bring them in, prepare them, arrange them for data modeling. Data modeling is the point where you connect all the tables. They will communicate with themselves. And when they are done, when you're done, you go to your reporting and start reporting. And inside this place, that's where when you're done with your data model, you can then start building your DAX. Remember, data model should come before building your DAX. DAX is data analysis expression, which we are going to build in this application. Do you have any question?
Please, I just want to understand this data model well. So, like when you want to bring data from, what's it called? Say from MySQL that we're trying, then you go through the process and then the database opens. Then you start clicking the tables that you want. Is this like what you mean by data model?
That level is called data extraction
Okay.
for getting data. Data model is the point where you have your main table, you have your smaller tables, they communicate with each other. Buddy, you're going to learn all of them in details.
Okay, maybe when we see the practical, because it's still not clear.
Yeah, it's not clear. We're going to get detailed explanation to data model. All
All
right,
right.
are we good? Can we move on?
Yep.
Everybody, are we good?
Yes.
We are good.
Okay. And the interface is clean. You saw all my write-up well.
Kind of. It's a bit small, but screaming through it.
Sorry
A bit
about that.
small.
All right, let us move on. All right, so let's practicalize what we have done, what we have said. Data injection. I'm going to start by going to get data. And if you go back to our data set, you notice we have several data sets. I will start with the product data set. Product data set. It's a CSV file. So let's bring it in. Text, to bring in a CSV file, we'll go to text and CSV/CSV. Click on it. It will take me to wherever I could find my data, but good enough, it pointed me to the right place. Click here and come to products, because that's where everything is. Remember to unzip your data sets, otherwise it will be difficult to. All right, so I've collected the data. And of course, it's going to pop up the interface. So ask me where I want to send the data sets. And as usual, I want to always recommend that you move your data to the Power Query. Transform your data. You must, most times you will always move it there. Most times you will always move it there. So please take note of that. And here we are. We have our.
Kingsley, sorry, I want to ask a question.
Yes, please do.
How do you know a data set is CSV by just looking at it without looking at the type or properties? Because when you look at it, it looks like an Excel file.
Okay, so it's not a tall order. Most times when you have Excel file and you have your CSV, they're kind of different. Let me see if I can find data sets. I'm sure I have Excel file there. All right, see, that's Excel file and that's CSV, isn't it? That should be an Excel file.
No, that's CSV.
Oh, so this is CSV, sorry, and it's Excel file. When you check the design, the icon, it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Then here, you'll be able to know, let me expand here. Comma separated value. Say what
Yeah.
they're saying it is what
Okay.
this is. So that's how easy it is to this. Are we good?
All right. I
Let's
just wanted to
move
know because
on.
somehow sometimes.
We're here. And when you look at this, when you look at the top, let me hide this. The top corner here. So we have that this particular Power Query is untitled. It's when you save it that you start seeing the name. So we have the title here. Whenever you save this file, that's where you see the name there. Up here, you can save your work. You can see that. Are we good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we have brought in the table, we agree that that was my product data set. That data set is my product data set. The name of the file comes in here as the name of the table here. You can see it by the side. And if you don't like it, you can right click here and rename. If you don't want to
But
rename,
this will not change the data sets from the original place. Is it going to change the name?
excellent question. I like this question. So when any data you bring in, irrespective of any transformation you perform on your data set, it does not affect the original data set. Are we good? It doesn't affect, that's the beauty of this. It doesn't affect it from where it lives, the data source. It doesn't affect it. It just, what is affected is what is here. Are we good, guys?
Yeah. So this is now saved as a new copy.
It's not saved as a copy of that data set. It's saved. So mostly two things. You can save it as a data set, as a Power BI semantic layer, which we call like a Power BI file. Or you can export it out as a new data set from
The
the one you
settings.
collected, and that you export it as CSV. But that's a different thing. It's not part of this class because most times that's not what we want to do. Sometimes companies will say, can you export that your visual, that your report in Excel? Because they are used to reading things in Excel. So don't feel bad. It has happened to the best of us. Because you take your time, you build one wonderful visual, and they say, can you export it to Excel? Don't feel bad. It's one of those things. It's easy for them to read it there. They are used to reading it there. Are we good?
So how do we do the
Yeah.
export it to Excel from Power
No,
BI?
no, that's not the that we are you're skipping position training now. You're skipping levels now, and that's far like toward the end of the whole Power BI thing, if you want to. So don't skip, please.
Oh,
Mhm.
it's because you're talking about it now. Okay, no problem.
That's good. So we have products here. Now, when you come to the left, to the right here, you still see the same name. And this is like I call it, so the query setting panel. And this query setting panel has an amazing thing it does here. It has the property, which is the name of the table. And it has another step, another another thing called apply steps. And I explained to you the other time what it does. For every change you make, the step is recorded here. And there is no Control Z in Power Query. Only in Power Query there is Control Z in Power BI, but in Power Query there is no Control Z here. So you take note of what you do, and you can delete steps. You can delete steps in between or at the end or the beginning, either way. But be careful how you delete or insert steps in between. Be super careful. Absolutely sure that it's not going to break your query. When I mean query, I mean data set. The table is called query in this platform. So sometimes there might be a time you might come and this is gone. Like I close it. You're not seeing it. So you can come to, that should be view, and you will see it, query setting here. And that, just like in every Microsoft application or Windows application, when you go to view, anything you're not seeing, you'll be able to find it there. Most Windows applications hide panels, icons, and view. So you go, you enable it, and it comes up again. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yes.
So now you can see this table name. It's called it query one. All tables will be here. If I bring in 50 tables, as many tables as I bring in, as you will see, every table will be here, and it becomes easy to manage, easy to understand. And for each table, there is what we call M code or M language. For each table, you will see the code powering it here. You'll see the code powering it here. In this class, we're not going to write M code. Maybe one a little thing, one or two tweaking, but we're not going to write M code. So when you click this arrow, just like in Excel, you will see the code powering it. Let this not bother you. It is all the steps that we did that Power Query is creating for us here. Please take note of that. It is before you get to the level where you will need to start writing M code or M language, the project must be very complex. Let's move on. But that's not a problem, trust me. The interface is alone, the GUI alone is enough to start. Because you can do most things with it. Okay, so that's it. Imagine you're here and you want to, another way you can find this code is to come to this point. Query editor, advanced query. Click on advanced query and you will see the code. So sometimes this code overlaps. Okay, let me come to display option and one line. Okay, so sometimes the code goes in, hides in between, just floats, sorry, wraps
Sorry.
in, thank you, and it becomes difficult for you to read. So you come in here and display in that's no, sorry, you display in this wrap is enabled. Okay, so I will disable this wrap. This is what I'm going to do now. So I will disable wrap. So can you see what happened? So most time this is how yours will be. Please take note when you come in here, enable wrap, and you'll be able to see all your code and flow down. And please, it's important. All right, so let's move on to the next thing.
I want to ask a question, please.
Please do.
So like this, you've brought the products table. If you want to bring in another one, how do you bring it, or you can't bring again?
That's not a problem. We will bring it. So
Okay.
wait for it to come.
No, do you understand the question I'm asking?
I understand. Just wait for the time to come.
Okay.
But how we want to bring it from this particular interface, isn't it? Instead of going back to Power BI.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll get it. Not a problem.
All right.
All right, so let's look at this. Let's understand our data set. I'm going to disable this. So I'll just have data quality. Yeah. Go to view, click on data quality and disable it. So this is our data set. That's our data set. So when you come up here, the concept we had in Excel when we learned it, you notice we had in each tab and the ribbons are organized in groups. So you can see new query, that means new data set, like Francisca asked. If you want a new data
Okay.
set, you come here, you can see.
Right.
If you open more, you will see all those things you saw in. Can you see? You saw in the Power BI. Yeah. So that's it. Then if you want to go to the recent data sources, you click here. These are my recent data sources. You can see all the places we went to get data while I was explaining the getting data concept. And here we are. You can actually enter new data, create new table. So I've clicked it. So I can create new table. I can name my table anything. I can name it sales table. Then can name my column. Product name. Then when I go by the side is a new column. You can name it sales. If I go down, name it phone. Here, I will name it 256 4. So if I load this, if I say okay, it creates a new table. We'll watch it. So now we have a new table, and here we go. And as soon
Brilliant.
as we did that, the code is ready for us. So,
So can you please do this again, please?
all right, so I will delete this, right? Click on this to delete the table. And you know, deleting table is not something you do all the time. Be careful. So you come to data, enter data. So it's going to bring up the interface where you can create your new data set. But before you want to create a new data set, your data should have a table, should have a name. The table should have a name. So I will name this sales data, and I will then start creating my columns. So the first column will be like product name. Then the next one will be like sales. And if you want more, you can continue. You can say price. Then you come in here and call it, you name the first product phones. Say you made 245 dollars or pounds, and then the price of that phone could just be like it could be like 137 if my calculation is correct. And then maybe quantity could come here so that you know quantity you sold. So the quantity sold is 2. See? And then I'm done with my data. I can come in, if I want to give more, I can come in here and give more data sets. So when I'm done creating my data set, I will go click OK. So the name of my data set will show, and the data set itself will show, and that's my table. You can see the name with the name I gave it, sales. That's product name, the columns, product name, sales, price, and quantity. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to delete it and we move on. So I've been able to explain to you this new query. Let's move on to new query. So now this is data source settings. This is one point where you can go and create your settings, organize the way your data, the places where the source where your data is coming from. This is where you organize it. Imagine your data moves to another direction. Your data source moves to another direction. You should be able to point it to that point, to that place. So my data is on desktop. I could move it to power to. So here we are. So this is where my data is. It's telling me where my data is. This is where my data is. So I can change the data source. Click here to change my data source, and then I'll browse to where it is. So imagine I move that product data outside. I'll be able to come here, browse to where it is, and select it. It will work again. But immediately your data, the data moves out of the data source, you will not be able to see the data. Merely you move your data from the data source, you won't be able to see your data on Power BI again. So when you refresh, you won't be able to see new data. The only thing you can see is the old one. But as soon as you refresh, you start having issues until you connect to the right data source. And when you share your data set, which is like semantic layer, the Power BI data set, the semantic model, that's the name, please, in case you hear it anywhere. If I share mine with Francisca, what will happen is Francisca does not have this data set. So if Francisca wants to refresh, she cannot refresh until she brings in this data set. But she will not have the permission to refresh until she is able to point to where this data set is successfully. And that's the concept of okay, going to your Git repo, cloning, getting your data, cloning the company's data, and then you want to access all the data sets from where they are. You will need to be able to do that through this data source. And that's what will usually happen if you have a Power BI already in place. You will need to go there, and they will give you permission to the data sets, to the source of the data, and you will go in there. You will come in here with your Power BI and point the data, this particular data set, to the right data source, and then you close. You continue. So the next one is parameter. We will skip this for now. It's complex. We don't need it now, but we can look into it later. So the other ones are, I've explained the query editor. It's grayed out because no table. It has to do with query, like table. No table is selected. That's why it's grayed out. And I click on table, it will become active again. And here we can see the properties, query editor, manage, deletes, duplicates, reference. And you can also refresh. Say new data set comes in, new information comes into product. When you refresh, Power BI will Power Query automatically go in there, pick that new information, automatically do this transformation for you. All the transformation, data type changing, calculation you have done, Power Query will do it for you. You don't need to do anything. When you're done building your Power BI reports, do all your transformation, Power BI, you don't have to do any much again, except updating. You come, you refresh, and Power Query will do all the calculation, give you the new, give you a fresh, add a fresh data set to the existing one, and you're good to go. That's how amazing it is. And you also find that in Excel through tables and then Power BI, Power Query too. So that's how wonderful it is. Let's move on. So here we are on the merge columns and reduce rows. So let's do something here. When you see these columns, you will see choose column. And when I click on the arrow, I have choose column and I have go to column. So when I come into this point, click on this choose column. We did it the other time. It brings a dialog box where I can search all the columns. So I want products. It brings any name that has products. If of course almost everything has product on the set modify model name. So if I want the model name, it comes up here. This helps me select the tables I want, only the tables I want. Anyone I don't want, let's say I want the product price. I'm not interested in the description. I'm not interested in SKU. And yeah, I'm not interested in those two. And then I don't think I want the size and the product style. And I will say, okay. That way, you see, my table has reduced. I just have a few tables. And as I did it, a new step is added here. Removed other column. So I can go ahead, bring it back, delete it back, and bring it back to where it was. That's how we pick up the columns we want and leave the others and delete the others. The next is go to column. Imagine you have 50 columns. I mean, it's not out of place. You have situations where you have them 100 columns. So you go to columns. That way, if I want to go to price, I can click on price and go straight to that column. And you see, that's even the last column. To take me straight to that instead of scrolling. Instead of scrolling, it will take me straight to that point. I hope I'm recording. All right, let's continue. So that's what these two columns does. So this particular field does. The next is remove column and remove other columns. So if I want to remove columns, let's come here, remove columns. Which columns do you want to remove? So I have removed this column because that's the column selected. And that column was the product price, remember? All right, so let me go back. And we stay here. If I click on this, that's the column I want to remove. If I come here and click on remove column, it removes it. Okay, so again, we have another one called remove other columns. Say you just want 3 columns. I want this column. I can select the columns I want. I will hold my shift key. When I select this one, if I hold my shift key and select the last one, it will select everything in between. Select this first one, hold your shift key, select the last one, select everything in between. If you want to select them one at a time, you hold your control key and select them. So this point, I want to keep only these three columns and delete the others. So that's in that situation where you have so many columns and you know the exact ones you want to keep. We could do it from choose columns, but let's do it from this point. So you come here and, no, that's remove rows. Come here and remove other columns. So it will remove other columns and leave only this one for you. See? Only these three are left for us. Any question here? Any question here?
What if the columns you want to keep are not together?
They don't have to be together. So let's do it. So I can use my control key. I've selected my product key and for my control key, select this one. I can go to the end, select this. See, they don't have to be together. And then I will go to remove other columns. And here we go. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any other questions, guys?
Not for now.
All right. Good to know that Power Query is making sense. Okay, so the next thing is rows. Let's do some demonstration of rows. So this is the reduced rows. Remember, we are on the home tab. So when you come here, keep rows. Keep top 3 rows. Let's see what happens. Or click on it. You want to keep top number of rows. I want to keep the first 5 rows. I will click 5. And every other one will disappear. That's how this works.
So are they deleted or hidden?
They are removed. They are removed. So when I come here and when I come there, I will just go back to where I was. Let's go back to it. Keep bottom rows. Just like top, we can keep bottom rows. So bottom rows, we want to keep 10. See, we have that. And that's how easy it is. I delete it and move back to the next. Keep range of rows. So let's click this and see. I want to keep first row. Number of rows. So that should be like first row. Okay, so from number 5, I believe, then I want to keep like the 10th row. So let's take note of that. The 5th row is this 220, then up to 15, 250. That should be it. So, oh, all right. Sorry, they didn't give me up to 15, gave me up to this point. So you pick a particular point where you want to start and where you want to end. It gives you only that one, and then remove the others. So the next thing you could do is you want to keep duplicates. You want to keep errors. You can do that. So let's move on to remove rows. So you can remove the top row, just like we do the opposite of keep. It's remove. You can remove any of this. And this is a very important one because you can remove duplicates. So this is where you come and you remove duplicates. Are we good?
Yeah, there's an option for keeping errors. At what point in in this our work, I mean, at what point can we like try to choose the option of keeping errors? I thought errors are for deleting, to filter our data set.
So errors sometimes are not for you to quickly delete. You need to know what is causing the error. So for instance, I have Peculiar who made purchase, and the product she made the purchase is 4247. In that purchase, notice that the price is not this amount. The price is like 1 or -1. You begin to imagine what happened. This purchase was successfully made. How come the price is -1? Or the price is showing a text. This is what the -1 is. The -1 is more of outliers because it's not around the range. If it is a text like paid, maybe the letter the word paid, it's gonna throw an error. And as it throws an error, what do? Do you go and delete that error? If you do it, you successfully removed a client who actually made genuine purchase. So that's where we talk about data quality. Most times you need to go back and ask questions. At the point of data collection, what happened? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So
And
if
then
you
when you
say,
get it,
okay,
yeah, go ahead.
so if you say keep error, what will happen to the data? Does it mean that it goes somewhere and it stays, or it still remains on your data set while you keep on sorting and filtering?
So another thing, what really happens is when you say keep error, every other thing will remove. I hope you know. Do you understand that?
Oh,
Every other one
No.
that does not have error will remove and leave only error for
So
you.
it will leave only the error.
so
Yes,
you
so that
now
you
concentrate on finding
ex
why the errors actually occurred.
excellent. That's a smart one. So you sort
So
that
what
error.
what will you now do afterwards? You will now bring
So you find out the error. If
the other ones
it's
back.
like, yes, when you're done, of course, when you're done, you bring the other ones back. Or
Okay.
or it's also like, I want to understand this data. Do you understand? I want to understand this data. Let me understand the error. When you know what the error is, when you have all the error close to you, you begin to understand it. When you're done understanding them, you can then bring back the data and then sort your error and clean up your error. You can just go up there, filter it out. You can come here, filter all the error out, or you can remove it if you need to remove it. Don't be in a hurry to remove data, filter out errors, filter out missing numbers, missing values, find out why they are missing, find out why they are error. That's part of your data quality check. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, let us move on. So by the side of this, we have ascending order and descending order sorting. Sorry, I'm opening my notes. I remember I told you guys, I don't teach without notes. Descending order and ascending order, A to Z and Z to A. And I'm sure you know what that means. Just click on one. You want to sort by a particular column, you sort it, you click on this, and then you click on the sort, and that's all you need to do. Now, all these things we have done, you can also find them. Remember, I told you that there is more than one way of doing things in mostly Microsoft Windows application. So all these things we have done, you can also find them. So what did we do? We removed a column. We can also right click on each of the column and do them. So I can remove this column. and it will go. I can select multiple columns, right click. So at this point, what's happening? So at this point, it's no longer remove. It understands that I am removing more than one column, and it's in sync with the grammatical correctness, and say remove columns. And I can remove the whole columns, the 3 columns. And the same way, I can select all those 3 columns and right click and remove other columns, those things we just did. Different ways of achieving the same result. Different ways of achieving the same result. And there are other things you can also do. Remove duplicates, remove error, and the other ones we'll get to them. How is it going so far?
Yeah, so far so good.
All right, for now.
So imagine you are done with making all your changes. Okay, I am happy with the way my data set is. You're happy. Okay. The next thing is you apply, you close and apply. Remember, when you're done making your changes, you are happy with the way everything is, you close and apply. If you're not happy the way it is, you just close without applying. If you're happy with the way it is and you still want to continue working, you just apply and then continue working on Power Query. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So apply is just like save.
All the changes, it's not save. It's applying it on Power BI. All the changes you have done, apply it there. But you want to still remain here. So giving you that option, that freedom to do what you want to do, that flexibility. Okay. Are we good with this? Is everyone okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Now when we start to practice with it.
Okay. So the next is I want to bring in another data set. I'm done with this. Like I'm assuming that I'm done with this. I want to bring in another data set. Come in here. The next data set should be a CSV file. I'll pick a CSV file and come into where it is. This is where it is, and it's a customer's data set. Click on it and bring it on board. So at this point, it's not going to ask us to transform or load because it understands that we are already on the platform, the window where we transform data. So it will just say, okay, and we are good. Do you like the interface? The preview? Yes. And notice it's telling us that this is that is a comma and it's a UTF encoding. And I will encourage you to research what that means. UTF encoding. And it's giving us the first 200 rows to review and if our data set is in order. Yes, we're happy. So I will say okay, and it will bring it on Power BI, Power Query. And here we are. This is our customer data. So in this customer data, we have a customer key.
So we don't need to save anything.
We're not saving yet.
Sorry, Kingsley. Sorry. What I'm asking is we don't need to, when we finish cleaning the products, we don't need to save anything. It's already saved.
It's not saved
until
yet.
we decide to send it over to Power BI.
No, it's not saved yet. It's not saved. You're still working. You're not done transforming. So you can
Okay.
actually decide to load it to Power BI, then return. So sorry about that break. So You can choose to load only your products and then return back, and save it. Because I have been in that situation where after so many transfer, my work, my query is so heavy that when I loaded, my Power BI breaks. My Power BI goes up and everything I have done, I have to start all over. So you can load, save it,
Oh. So what's the best practice?
and you can load and save. There's no such thing like break. If you have a better computer, you don't have to bother yourself about that. So you stay here because it's also time wasting to go load then return. It's time consuming. So there's no such thing like best practices. If you don't want issues about what you have done, and sometimes you're not even I may not remember what you have done. You can go and save if they are much, and most times they could be much. Okay, so let's move on. We have customer key, preface, first name, last name, date of birth. We don't have anything here. So we have marital status, gender, email address, annual income, children, total children they have, educational level, occupation. Are they a homeowner? So let's do text transformation. Welcome to text transformation. That's what we are going to do with this. But before then, I don't like this. There's nothing here. And you can see if I hover here, it's telling us that it's 100% empty. I want it out. So I can come in as I hover, can come in here, remove empty, or I right click and remove that column. So when I did that, was it the right thing I'm supposed to do? No. So this just remove every row. But because I want to remove the column, I will right click and remove that column. And that's the right thing to do. So the first text transformation, let's go to transform. All this while we have been on home tab. Let's go to transform tab. I removed you. So we've been on home tab. Let's go to transform tab. Here we have some amazing group. You can also see Python scripts, R scripts. You can run all of them. You see another group we have table group, any column, text column, number column, and we will focus on the text column. So on this text column, we have split columns, we have formats, we have merge, extract, and parse. That is what we have. These are what we have on the text column. And then when you come here, you also see on the number column. Things we have like statistics, standard, scientific, tree, rounding, and information. The next is dates and time column. The next is scripts like Python scripts. And it's simple. The great things about this grouping is so that you know where, when you want to do text transformation, you go straight to text. Now, this any column means it can do transformation on any column, date, text, numbers. That's what this means. And let's find out what we can do. Okay, before I do anything, all right, so let me do this thing here. Before I do anything, let's go to add column. So on this add column, I want to do something. Notice that we have text and we have number, both on text and both on transformation and transform and add column. So I want to do something here on this add column. So let's come to here, this place. Before then, I don't like this. And notice that we have empty. So let me confirm what that empty is. Let's confirm what that empty is and then select here and keep empty. Remember how we do it? It's under row. Keep, oh, we don't have keep empty. All we have is keep error and keep duplicate. Okay. So I'm going to remove this empty. Well, it is empty anyways. So we have removed it. Now let's go back to the add column. I want to select this. Every name here is in capital letter. I want to make it I want to capitalize it. Sentence case, where we have the first letter starting with capital letter and others small letter. In Excel, we use proper function to handle that. In this case, you don't have to do all those things. You just come here, come to format. Is it format? Yes. Capitalize each word. And when I do it, watch what happened. Okay. So this is the word it created. Capitalize each word. And when it creates a column, I can now call it first name. Name it like this. I'll name it like this. And so notice what happened. I've named it and named it that way. But let's go back and look for what happened to the original one. The first name is still here. So when I am in add column, as the name suggests, add column, any transformation you do on this column adds a new, on this tab, adds a new column to your data sets. But do we necessarily need to add column when we do this type of transformation? Because there are transformation you want to do, you want to add new column. Do you necessarily want to do this when you add transformation? When you do this transformation, do you necessarily need to add a column? I need your response, guys. Do you? No one is talking. All right, so we created this. When you are in this column, when you are in this place, any new column you create, any new transformation you do, when you're on the add column, we create a new column. I'm going to delete this. Let's go back to transform and do the same thing. So I am here. I thought I removed it.
No, it's still there.
Oh, okay. What I removed the other time was the change of the column name. So let's come here and first name. Select first name and I want to capitalize every word. I will come in here, test, where is test here? Click on format and say capitalize. At this point, everything happened on the same column. So any transformation you do on the transform tab stays on the same column. Any one you do on the add column tab creates a new column. Is this clear?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
That's the name add column because tests from test and from number group are still here. Test and from a number. So what you're going to do on around tests and number, you still be able to do it on add column. But this time around, the builders understand that you need to sometimes you need to create some calculation needs you to create new column. Some need you to just do the transformation there and then. So you don't need to create new column. Because so you could just decide to create new column and then come and delete the previous one. that will create 2 steps or even 3 steps. And that will create work for Power BI on Power Query during refresh. So you need to try to do transformation with the minimum steps you can. Minimum step you can. That's what you do. That's what you can do transformation on. And that is the best practices. All right. So
Sorry, is
yeah,
there any recommended number of steps
no, you just want to
that should
do
numbers?
your
You
transformation.
said minimum. What's the recommended minimum?
No,
Yeah, I said
there's no
okay.
the recommended minimum is the minimum it can take you to transform a particular do your transformation.
Okay.
Yes, so let's do this one and then I will allow you guys to practice. So I want to do the same thing here. I'll click on it. I'm not doing it in this, I'm doing it here because I want to have it on the same column, capitalize. So all that I have done, I would want you to practice it. We still have a whole lot to do, but I think I've loaded you with so much. I want you to practice.